Good morning, everyone. Roger Hammen from Midland Power Cooperative here. A little blustery morning this morning in Iowa, a little colder this morning. We've really been enjoying some good weather, but we're going to talk a little bit today about geothermal systems. And I want to bring on board Jeremiah Strode. He's the Director of Cooperative Engagement with the Geothermal Exchange Organization. Uh, Jeremiah kind of works with cooperatives, works with people like us, to kind of keep ahead of the geothermal game. So, Jeremiah, great to have you here today. Thought we'd talk a little bit about geothermal. So, great to see you.
Well, thank you, Roger. It's great to be here. Looking forward to talking about geo today.
Yeah. So, electric cooperatives have been heavily engaged in geothermal for a lot of years, Jeremiah. We've strongly supported this industry. We see where it is really good for our membership. It's great for the cooperative as far as helping us to control demand mechanisms within our utilities. Obviously, it's awesome for our members. Economical, great, renewable source of heating and cooling for your home. Um, but in the big picture, I guess maybe kind of a way to get into this a little bit is to kind of talk a little bit about geothermal itself, Jeremiah, why it's unique, and how it really works. So if you can kind of throw a little of that at us, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, it's kind of what you said. Let's go back to the renewable aspect. I mean, this is kind of the basis for geothermal heating and cooling. We're taking the heat from the earth that's gathered by the sun. It absorbs that heat energy, and using a series of piping in the ground, we're able to extract heat for heating in the winter, and cool our homes by dumping heat we take from the home and put it back in the ground. So that is the kind of the fundamentals of geothermal heating and cooling, is just utilizing that year-around constant ground temperature, and that also makes it very efficient. So geothermal is considered one of the most efficient systems in the market today because of that.
And the way, kind of a funny way that I kind of look at geothermal, Jeremiah, as we think about and talk about, made in China or things like that, some of that aspect of thing. I mean, the ground here in the United States is ours, and so it's American made. That's the way I kind of look at geothermal. And again, we've supported geothermal for a lot of years, had great luck with it. I see a lot of financial benefits, that come with people that put geothermal in. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Now, in our particular case, we offer some rebates, and also some rate structures that are really, really beneficial to our membership. So, what are you seeing on that side of things? As far as some of the real financial benefits of geothermal.
You can't beat them as far as the financial benefits go. As I mentioned, we're just pumping heat, right? We're not producing it. We're not burning a gas. We're not running a current through a coil like with electric resistance furnaces. All you're doing is transferring heat that's already there in the ground. So when you look at it from a cost standpoint, it's always going to be much better to, just move something from one area to the other versus trying to produce it. So, geothermal is always going to be very cost effective, no matter where you live. It doesn't matter. Well, you guys have a lot of pretty cold weather. I mean, you have pretty good winters in Iowa. I live in Missouri. Right. We're kind of the same way. Geothermal thrives on that. It doesn't care if it's 20 below. It's still going to produce heat for your home in a very efficient manner. And really no other technology can say that to the effect that geothermal can. So it's very, very effective for you and very cost effective.
Yeah. I here at the cooperative, Jeremiah, we're having a lot more interest in renewable energy through our membership, and it seems to be a certain amount of focus is towards solar. I think because, it's being marketed pretty well. A lot of people out there banging on their doors, this and that. And I see some benefits to solar and things like that. But I want to go back to, solar is being touted as a renewable energy source. geothermal in my eyes is about as renewable as you can get.
Yeah,
And
no,
so your take on that?
I totally agree. Geothermal does not get the recognition it needs, and I think you kind of hit it. It's solar's out there; you can see it. It's on someone's roof, it's in the backyard. Same with the wind turbine. Um, our geothermal loops are in the ground. You're not seeing them, but because they're in the ground, they are again utilizing that energy that's already there. I don't know what the exact number is. I want to say, was it like 60% or 70%? Some percentage, large percentage of solar energy is absorbed by that ground, and you know that's constantly going on. I mean, that's the essence of renewable. It's something that regenerates itself, and we're able to tap into that and utilize that renewable energy. And I think um, you know geothermal does a very good job of that.
Well, and kind of to piggyback off that a little bit too, there's obviously some environmental benefits to that, when it comes to renewable energy. A lot of people are concerned about, the climate change issues and some of these things that come along with that. Geothermal, what a great way, to help curb so much or as much of fossil fuel usage and carbon emissions. The geothermal system is going to greatly reduce that, correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct, and on a lot of different ways. I mean, if you look at it from an environmental standpoint, um, you've got a couple things on the household level. If you're burning gas in the home, you have a little bit less air quality in the home. I know it vents. Um, from the generational side, you've got coal, you've got gas power plants adding carbon to the atmosphere. The less we have to burn to provide energy to our communities to heat and cool, obviously the less carbon output there is. So the more geothermals we can get out on the system, the less of a carbon footprint we're going to have in that area. Uh, you can also look at it, from a standpoint of what do you do with solar panels when they are out of their lifetime? When their lifespan is up, you got to figure out how to recycle those, or they're just going to go into the dump. The beauty about our geothermal loops, they last 50 years guaranteed, but we're expecting probably 100, 200 years. I mean, they're going to outlive all of us when we put these things in the ground.
Right. And it's like you said, Jeremiah, it's not that shiny thing up on your roof that your neighbors drive
Right.
by and see every day. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but boy, the savings and the impacts environmentally are just super with these types of systems. And again, that's why cooperatives have been supporting geothermal for a number of years. I see geothermal making a resurgence. I'm seeing more systems installed. Geo kind of laid off a little bit there a few years back, but I'm seeing a real resurgence here, Jeremiah, just in our membership anyway. And I think, some of this has to do with the environmental aspects that
Mm-hmm.
that geothermal presents. I think people that are really trying to play a part in a renewable energy source to heat and cool their house, I think is very appealing to them. And I believe, there's some really substantial possible federal tax credits out there available too. Maybe you could touch a little bit on maybe some of those potential credits out there that people could get for these systems.
Yeah, we are seeing a resurgence, and it is mainly due, in my eyes, to the changes we're seeing in our climate right now. We're seeing a lot of extreme weather events. We had the polar vortex, a year or so ago. We've got droughts and extreme heat waves going in. So we're seeing a lot more interest in systems that aren't as affected by uh, those particular events. The federal government has recognized this as well, and that's where we're getting the Inflation Reduction Act credits to help mitigate some of that. And the Geo Exchange worked really hard on getting geothermal included in that, and there are substantial credits available to both residential and commercial. Uh, a quick highlight for you is your residential members can get 30% on a system, and that goes for the next 10 years. And then after that, it does a 2-year ratchet down. similar to the programs we saw before this. There's a few tax credits out there that actually even go along with, if people are getting a new geothermal, a lot of times they need attic insulation or basement insulation. So there's some credits out there. They can get some money back for that as well. And then, of course, your commercial side is seeing some of the biggest changes. Your commercial members can take advantage of up to 50%, actually. There is a new way they have structured the commercial credits, and the base number's around 30% now, and there's a couple different bonuses that they may be able to apply for and get, which can get it up to 50%. So substantial savings out there for installing these kind of units.
Yeah, I'm just seeing all kinds of great possibilities in the commercial sector that I have never really seen in the past. And obviously residential, it's great. I mean, there are a lot of things. You couple some of those potential tax credits along with rebates through Midland Power, and you got a pretty decent package out there. Pretty soon you're pretty competitive with the conventional, gas air conditioning system. And the longevity of this stuff is great. I mean, loop fields are out there for, they have 50-year warranties on these loop fields. I think in the 25 years I've been chasing this stuff around, Jeremiah, I've only ever seen one failure in a loop field. So
Right.
it's hands down, pretty much carefree. All the equipment's inside the house as far as the compressor goes. Nothing's exposed outside. And that just leads to longer longevity, for that piece of equipment. So
Right.
as long as guys like you have been dealing with geothermal, there's so many positives out there. And then when the end comes and you look at your bill as a member, you're probably going to be pretty happy with what you see at the end of every month when you get your bill. So great systems. Guys like you and I that have dealt with geothermal a long time know all the benefits of this stuff, and we're trying to pass that along as well. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different questions when I talk to members about, well, how do they do the loops, or how does this work? Give us a little bit of a typical installation. I know there's vertical loops and horizontal loops and directional boring and some of these things. So
I would say, a quick rundown would be, you're going to figure out what your house needs. You're going to do a load calculation on the home. And that's pretty standard. And based off how your house is built, it's going to give you a size. And then your contractor will come in, and you have two main components. You have an indoor system and you have your outdoor loop system. So they're going to be installing the outdoor loop system in whatever fashion is most appropriate for your particular location, whether there's a size or spacing considerations or soil conditions that will dictate certain types of loops. But, you've got your basic vertical loop system, your horizontal loop system, which can be put in a couple different ways, like horizontal boring or trenching. And then, of course, you've got things like pond loops. If you happen to have a body of water big enough to be able to utilize that stable temperature of a large body like that. So they're going to install the loop system, and then they're going to bring it all together, and they're going to enter the house with two pipes, and they're going to connect it to an indoor unit that is really no different looking for the most part than any traditional system you'd see out there, whether it's gas or another type of heat pump. Nothing fancy, right? Everybody, I think, kind of expects Geo to be some space age looking piece of equipment, but it really isn't. I mean, you've got the same metal box inside. The only difference is you're taking all that stuff you used to have outside, like your air conditioning unit, and you're moving it all inside, and it's contained within that unit inside the house. So other than a few pipes, I don't think you'd be able to tell the difference between a geothermal and anything else in the home.
Yeah, and now with being able to do directional boring out there, the infiltration in people's yards isn't nearly as bad. Obviously, if you're going to do a horizontal loop field, you have to have some room, to dig in the loops. But gosh, anymore, with directional boring and vertical loops, you could go into a residential area in town, pull a truck in there, and you can have geothermal. So a lot of people may think that, well, it's just not conducive for me because I don't have the room, but that's not really the case.
Absolutely not. I mean, you can put these things anywhere. In fact, there's even cases in downtown Chicago where they've got little drill units that they can take into a window in a basement and drill a loop system below the house, in other words. kind of a rare case. I don't think you're going to see that real common everywhere. But my point being, you can take this thing anywhere. You can put them in your driveway, front yard, backyard. Schools put them in football fields. They'll just pop holes down there and have it there, under parking lots. It really doesn't matter where that loop is. Since it's just utilizing that ground temp, as long as you're in the ground, you're good to go.
Sure. So what are you seeing, Jeremiah? What are you seeing in big picture stuff as far as energy generation with geothermal systems? Now, you see on the news or you see different things about these huge scale solar farms that are going up and they're going to generate all this power and do all these things. But geothermal is doing some pretty magnificent stuff out there when it comes to actually generating power through geothermal systems. Can you touch on any of those big type projects maybe that are kind of going on?
I'll be honest, I don't know as much about what we call the hot rock side.
Yeah,
But I do know that, or geothermal generation is being looked at more and more because we do need a base load type of generation out there to keep our grid nice and
right.
stable. And, solar and wind is playing its role, but again, without some kind of storage mechanism, they're just not quite going to cut it for that base load aspect that are, currently taken up by, coal and natural gas and the nuclear plants. So that, I mean, I do know that it's getting a lot of attention right now, and I think it's going to play its part, especially in the parts of the country that have good geothermal activity that it's conducive to that type of generation.
Yeah, I've been reading and seeing a little bit more all the time about and like you kind of brought up, geothermal can really act more of like a baseload generation than a wind or solar that only generates when the wind blows and the sun shines, where geothermal's 365 days a year. So it could possibly work as a large baseload type generation system. Um, I've worked with a lot of our members who have geothermal, a lot of people that are coming on with geothermal, and I, the people are wondering, okay, I got this money involved in this thing. What do you think my savings are going to be? And are we seeing that? Are you seeing that in the areas that you were? Personally, I do see that here. I've seen people that are pleasantly surprised on their savings of maybe even more than what they anticipated. And so, just kind of, what do you see in your area? What do you see nationwide? People happy with their geothermal systems or the savings out there, things like that.
Yeah, I have to say that when I was working more, directly with people on talking about geothermal for their home, I've never had a person come back and say, I wish I didn't put a geothermal in. I just start with that. Uh, the savings are definitely there. And in fact, I just plugged my house into a calculator that you can use. One of all the manufacturers, I think, generally have a calculator that you can show the savings, and they're just general numbers. But if I was to put propane furnace in my home, I'd be spending about $2,500 more a year, is what my house calculated out as. And that's on, that's not including the hot water savings. And I don't think we talk about that enough. So with the geothermal,
Exactly.
you have the desuperheater, which helps heat your water in your home. $404 is what it was showing as a savings. And even if it's less than that, it's not a huge impact from a yearly standpoint, but you talked about the longevity of geo being so long. I mean, 25 years on average. We're seeing it units even hitting 30 years. That 404 a year can really start adding up, and
Right. Exactly.
get you a lot of money back.
Yeah. And I think you kind of briefly touched on something there that we really need to push a little bit harder. One of the top energy users in your home is heating hot water.
Hmm.
In the geothermal system, again, as you kind of talked about with the desuperheater, basically what happens is it takes the excess heat produced by the geothermal system and it throws it off to your hot water heater and it pre-warms water for your hot
Yes.
water heater. Henceforth, saving, I've seen people basically 60, 70% savings on their hot water heating, which is a big
Absolutely.
one. That coupled with, heating and cooling savings, these things that people are really happy, and they really do perform. Um, And so that's just one thing that I think we, like you said, we need to touch upon a little bit more on the hot water savings that are involved with this as well. So I'm glad to hear you're seeing the same things and hearing the same things that we do up here. And like I say, as cooperatives, we've been in the geothermal industry or in the business for a long, long time. So this isn't anything new to us. And geothermal is nothing new, Jeremiah, correct?
But
I mean, it's been
yeah,
around forever.
it it
It's
has.
just that, the new technologies and the way they handle things and the way the loops are done, all these things just keep getting better and better. And again, the idea that geothermal is a renewable source of energy is awesome. It falls under that criteria as well. Um, so we touched a little bit, on the rebates and the tax incentives and things like that. Again, Midland Power offers some pretty good
Mhm.
rebates. We also offer a reduced heating and cooling rate that really makes geothermal shine. And so, hopefully our members, we hope that our members, take a second to talk to us, about geothermal and some of the benefits and things like that. But are you seeing anything new in technologies, Jeremiah, that anything that's really standing out? I mean, it's pretty hard to change something that really works.
It really is, and that's kind of the beauty of geothermal. It's nothing complex, and the improvements I think over the years have just been refining what's already there. Uh, I mean, the efficiencies are so high. There's not a whole lot more you can do to really take another big, huge leap. Like other industries out there have to really be adding all kinds of gadgets and systems to just squeeze out just that little bit more heat. And geothermal's already there. The lowest model geothermal is so far superior to most any other system out there that it's really hard to make an improvement on that. So as far as new technologies, I would say there's nothing super major coming out. I could be eating my words here. The manufacturers may have something that I'm not even aware of at the moment. Uh, but I think it's just adding more value to what's there. Diagnostic tools are becoming more popular right now, and they're integrating those into the systems, um, so that you're able to do remote diagnostic checks, and then other features that are similar to what you get with, say, a smart thermostat, tied into it, so you can check your system while you're away from home. Um,
Yeah.
so
And the one big thing that I like to touch upon when it comes to people that are considering geothermal systems is comfort.
yes,
And, we start talking about, the proper humidity within your homes and the proper heat and all these things, that come back to living in a healthier home. And number one, when you're not burning combustibles, when you're
right,
not burning gas in that home, that's a big benefit to people because number one, when you're burning gas, you're adding moisture into your home, which some people would say, well, in the wintertime, that's not a bad thing, because humidity is down. But I
right,
don't believe it's the right type of, moisture that what you want to put into
right.
your home, the carbon dioxide factors and all these other things. The idea that you are basically heating water with a geothermal system that may be backed by electric elements. Again, the health issues, the health benefits by not burning combustibles in your home. And so I think, when we really look at geothermal in the big picture, and this is how I try to present it to my members who are interested in is, health and comfort are the two big things that you're really striving for. We all want to look at the bill at the end of the month, and
Right.
say, oh, my bill is good, it's great, and this and that. But really, the biggest factors in my eyes is how healthy is this system to you and your family, and what's the comfort level in your house. If you're in a home that maybe has a forced gas system in there, and the north bedroom is always cold and it's always hot, and in the summertime, whatnot, these systems, you set the thermostat, you get it to a comfort level, you put a padlock on it, and you walk away,
Yeah.
and you just experience real basic, bills, usage, things like that. But the comfort and the health is a big thing to me.
Yes. I have to totally agree with that. The nature of how these systems work, you get a lot better filtration of your air in the home, with the longer run cycles. You get that even. temperature, like you were saying, kind of the set it and forget it, like the old infomercial on the rotisserie chickens, right? Set your thermostat and forget about it. Don't even look at it. I don't think I've ever seen mine change. If I see my temperature change in my home, somebody's done something. Somebody's changed it without me being aware of it. These systems are extremely comfortable in the house. They moderate the humidity very well in the summer. It's just a win-win all around. You have low bills and extremely high comfort levels in the house. So it's kind of an easy discussion to have with people because there's really no cons to it. There's only pros during the
Yeah.
conversation.
And I think as people, and rightly so, I mean, I commend people that are out there looking for, some alternative forms of energy. They're
Mhm.
more conscious about what's going on with energy use, things like that. And as they're looking towards, renewable sources and like solar and wind and some of these things out there, Jeremiah, you got to come back to the idea that the sun only shines a certain amount of the time, the wind only blows a certain amount of time. A geothermal system's 365 days a year it's going to perform for you. And so it's not contingent on, weather, it's not contingent on the sun, it's not contingent on the wind. And so when you look at actual paybacks by investing in a system that's actually, when your goal is to actually save money and play a part, in the environment, in
Yeah.
the geothermal system, in my eyes, just knocks it out of the park compared to a lot of these other alternative renewable energy sources because it will perform for you all the time.
Yes, you can check all those boxes. You're
Yeah.
doing your part, for the environmental issues going on. You don't care. I don't know how many people have gone out and had to wipe off snow off their solar panels, but I don't think I've seen anybody go out and wipe the snow off their loop field.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it doesn't really care, and that is the beauty of it. And it lasts for so long. It's not an investment you're going to have to deal with, every 10 years or something.
Yeah,
It literally
exactly.
going to last a couple decades.
Exactly.
Um, so wonderful.
So I guess I to kind of wrap this up, Jeremiah. Um, Obviously, we want to, appeal to the people listening to us today. If you have questions about geothermal, you're a Midland Power member, please feel free to give us a call, contact us. We'll be happy to come out, help you do an evaluation, see if geothermal is really a really good fit for you as a Midland member. I want to take a minute to thank you, Jeremiah, and the in the National Exchange, the Geo Exchange, for all the work that you guys do. I am actually on the Iowa Geothermal Board of Directors, and so I play a large part in the statewide association, along with a lot of other directors. We're all volunteer, and so we've done a lot of work down at the Capitol, down at the State House, lobbying for tax credits, incentives, things like that. And so I think all of us that, like you and I and many others out there, who really have a passion for this, it's fun to go out there and see if we can't make it better all the time for our membership. But again, I want to commend you guys at what you do at the Geothermal Exchange organization. Really helpful, keeping Geo up at the top of the list, and hopefully we can continue on.
Well, I appreciate that. And I want to give kudos to all the co-ops, especially you. The co-ops got Geo where it's at today. You guys have passed on the education to your members. You've had wonderful rebates for decades, and we can't thank you enough. And if there's anything more that the Geo Exchange can do for you or your members, we're here to help. So
Great.
thank you.
Hey, again, Jeremiah, appreciate your time today. We'll keep spreading the word on geothermal. And again, thanks for everything you do. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thank you.